Howdy, howdy.
How are you today?
Good. We are not in a practice session. We jump straight into the real thing, just so you know. So I see Sean Strain's already chatting away over there. For my team, we really should do practice sessions on these things because, like, what if I was blowing my nose or doing something that,
Seriously.
that we don't want to have happen? Um, Anthony, good to see you. For everybody joining us, jump in the chat and say, hey, hey. And oh yeah, Janae, tell us where you're from. Janae's from Spokane. I don't usually get excited to do this, but I'm in San Diego today, so I get to tell everybody that I'm in San Diego. Um, Sarah joined twice. That's amazing. Uh, hey Jared. Hey Molly. Connor, good to see you. Um, Sarah, I think I told you yesterday when we were doing our prep call for this that we had something like 100 people registered, and they were all really excited to like learn from you and see what you've been doing. Uh, that crept up to 200 overnight. So a lot of demand
Goodness.
to understand what you're doing with it and like how you and your team are implementing this.
No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, none, no pressure. What do they say? No pressure, no diamonds.
Exactly.
That's exactly.
Um, if
All right,
you
well,
want to make Nick, you're on the screen, so can we, because we are on a live Zoom, could you not be a host if that's possible?
I'm not smart enough to know how to turn Nick's video off, but it looks like
Yeah, I
you
don't
did.
know
Oh,
how
there
he
you go.
ended up in through mine.
You guys are you're sharing passwords over there. We
We
just
absolutely are.
absolutely are not sharing any passwords over here. Okay, cool. Well, it's 11:01. We'll give people one more minute. Hey, everybody, if you just joined, I'm Jeremiah. This is Sarah, or this is Sarah, depending on how your screen is oriented. Um, Everybody's kind of chatting in the chat about where they're from. Sean used to live in Fort Riley, Kansas. Very cool. Courtney's in College Station. So I am on the, hey Deborah, good to see you. I see you got your hand up. I'm on the fourth day of conference life. So we drove to San Diego on Monday and we're at this Inman conference. So if I sound like I've been chain smoking cigarettes for the last week, it's because I've been talking over hundreds of other people all day long. Um, and I've got a little bit of the conference voice. I think it's just really like prepping for Mega Camp that's coming up in a few weeks, which we will have a booth at Mega Camp. So I hope that everybody will come see us. Hey Myra, how you doing? Good to see your name on here. Um, all right, it's 11:02. We'll give everybody 30 more seconds to roll in. We are recording this. I'm going to make sure we're recording and we'll send this out afterwards. So if you have members of your team that you wish were here that aren't here, or if people show up late, we're all good. We will do that. Um, you ready, Sarah?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm excited. I'm excited to share. Let's do some quick intros because I see that we have quite a few like current BrokerBot customers on here, but I also see that we have a handful of new names. So I'm going to set the table about who we are, what we do, and what we're going to cover today, and then we'll dig in. So I'm Jeremiah. I'm co-founder at BrokerBot. For most of you that I see a lot of names I know. I used to be Keller Williams team leader. I was a MAPS coach. Um, have built technology in the space before. I've been working on this project for coming up on 2 years now. And funny enough, I was chatting with David Voorhees this morning in San Diego, and he's like, "How many Keller Williams offices use this thing now?" And I was like, "That's a great question. Let me look." And I was shocked to find that it's like nearly 30% of Keller Williams franchisees use BrokerBot now, which is amazing. And I don't know why it's not 100%. So our goal is to fix that. And we love our Keller Williams franchisees. That's our number one group of users is Keller Williams offices. But we do these webinars in hopes that we can help you understand best practices from some of our top users. Sarah and her team have done a tremendous job going from 0 to 1 really quickly on KWise, which is their AI assistant, which is built on our BrokerBot technology, but it's very much their own assistant. And Sarah's going to tell you all about it. But the goal here is like whether you want to use BrokerBot or Claude or Chat or OpenClaw, that you should be able to take away practical things from what Sarah shares with you. We just want to add value. We have a bunch of stuff that we're doing as a company to be thought leaders in this space. In fact, spoiler alert, BrokerBot is publishing the authoritative guide to AI in real estate, and that will be available through the NAR Realtor store starting next week. So I did a podcast about that, and that's pretty cool because I think a year ago I had this big, hairy, audacious idea of like, we're just gonna be the thought leaders in AI. And we're going to set the bar really high for how this works in enterprise security. And then we're going to go help all the regulators make the rules about this. And I guess step one to that is you got to publish the authoritative guide and get the National Association of Realtors to agree with you that you're the right person to do it. So for whatever that's worth, we got that part done. So that's exciting. Um, so Sarah, do you mind doing a quick intro? Talk about you and your market centers.
So my name is Sarah Gustafson. I'm the operating principal of two market centers here in central Massachusetts. So if you're not sure where central Massachusetts is, it's an hour outside of Boston. So we service the Metrowest and central Massachusetts areas. We have about 140 agents between the two market centers. And I've had the privilege of not only working with Keller Williams, but also with the Realtor Association, and was most formally the 2025 MAR president for the state of Massachusetts.
Cool. So you're a busy human being with lots of things going on, just like everybody else here. What's your experience? And I want to make sure everybody else hears this because I've never seen an industry or I've never seen a market like this. Like this is the toughest market, and it's kind of a 4-year cycle of a really tough market. So I think it'd be good for the rest of the world to hear, like, what's your market like? Are you the exception and your margins are amazing and you're growing like crazy? There's no competition and tons of homes to sell.
No, we are still, we're Northeast. So, everything I think trends to affect this area of the country last. So we still are in this area experiencing a shortage of inventory, competitive situations depending upon the price points. However, we have started to recently notice that for our sellers that have been doing the try it pricing may not be experiencing the same results that they had a year or two ago. So we are seeing the shift, but it's, I think, been a little bit behind maybe some of our counterparts across.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I view my job on these to like just point out the things that I noticed that are different. And I just heard one. It's like you just said the sellers that are doing, what did you say, the try it pricing?
Try it pricing.
Yeah. Um, Something I noticed that Sarah and her team do really well is their brains like intentionally or maybe unintentionally productize things in that way. So like we see a lot of market centers roll out BrokerBot and they're like, hey everybody, we have BrokerBot. And I don't know that if your agents from your market center were watching this, I'm not sure they would even know what BrokerBot is. And I think you all did a really nice job making it your AI assistant, and you call it KWise. So maybe help everybody think about that. Like how have you used that brand for the benefit of your brokerage?
So that actually, I do give credit where credit was due. That was Maximo, who has been helping us through this transition. He is one of the BrokerBot staff. He has been amazing. And one of the things that he had suggested early on when we were looking at this as a leadership team was to actually name the AI assistant so that we could personally brand it to the brokerage. So it was something unique to us, as we are where many of our competitors, at least locally, do not offer an assistant for their agents right now. So what we did with that advice is we made it into a contest with the brokerage, and we had, so we let the agents know that we were investing in this. And before we made this investment, we did bring it before our ALCs. I wanted to talk with them about, to get their feedback and make sure that they were on board with the market center doing something like this, because we wanted the adoption at a high level. When they said yes, then that's when we started to let the brokerage know that yes, we were going to be bringing this in. Please submit your ideas for names. We got over 14 names were submitted. And then what we did from there is, as leadership, we then voted on our top 5 favorites. So we came up with 5 out of the 14. And I strongly recommend, for those of you that do it, you do field the names before you let all the agents see it, because we got some very interesting submissions. So then leadership voted on our top 5, and then we put it out to the rest of the agents one more time. And the one that they came up with, KWise, which of course is KW, capital ISE. And so that's what we call the platform in the brokerage. And like you had mentioned earlier, most agents, if you said BrokerBot, wouldn't know what that is. They assume that it's an internal system that we have here.
That's amazing. Um, did you all like do t-shirts or mascots or anything like that?
I would love to say that we were that creative and had that much actual bandwidth to do that. We did not. What we did do was a lot of internal publicity. So we still use an internal Facebook page as our kind of communication for all those easy things within the brokerage. So we started putting it out on that right away. That was where the naming contest and everything got posted. Then, of course, we put flyers up around the office. And once we made the decision to move forward with this initiative, I sent out an email as the operating principal to, in a more formal setting, let everyone know exactly why we were bringing this to our agents, what kind of a benefit it was going to bring to their businesses, and why we had chosen to make this investment in them.
Awesome. I love that. And I jumped up to grab this because I'm a big t-shirt person. And so we're at Inman this week.
Oh,
And so we made these Inman specific BrokerBot t-shirts, and they're supposed to look like lifeguard t-shirts. So, Sarah, if you want one, I will have the team send you one. They've
well,
been
I
a
mean, I'm
hit.
not going to turn down a free t-shirt. Come on now,
Yeah.
I'm in real estate.
And I'm also, just so you know, I'm a t-shirt snob. So they're very nice t-shirts.
We've got people in the chat that are waiting on theirs. It's getting a little competitive out there. Oh, so
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
opened up a whole nother thing now. Everybody wants
yeah,
the t-shirt.
yeah. Everybody wants one. And I love the question about the Mega Agent Camp t-shirt. Um, we're working on our inspiration. I feel like BrokerBot needs like a cowboy hat and a lasso to go to San Antonio. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll do BrokerBot Stetsons or something for Mega Camp. We'll see how that goes.
There you go.
All right, sorry, I don't want to get us totally off track. So, name it. If you are using BrokerBot in your market center and it's BrokerBot, like change it. Yeah, Spurs would actually be smarter. Let us know. Um, Sarah, when you like, I think one thing I noticed about you is like you don't try to like conf reject reality. Like you knew from the get-go that your agents were using artificial intelligence, your staff was using artificial intelligence. So this wasn't like are my people going to use it? Like you knew they were already using it. It was, can I create additional value for them by giving them a tool that, has the security and all the stuff built into it that you have some visibility to. And so help everybody understand, like, where did you start? Like, I think we do a little better job helping you build out now than we did in the past. So we probably got you up and running more quickly than some of the people on the call. But what was the first thing for you that you're like, if we can solve this one problem, it's going to make everything else easier?
When I walked past one of my agents uploading an offer to purchase to OpenAI, and I was like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
And that was the first moment that I realized, I mean, I understood AI was here. I understood everybody was using it. And I don't think I fully understood the implications as a broker because mostly what I had seen people doing was the marketing with it or streamlining emails, those sorts of things. And when I saw that happen just in passing, I said, okay, this is now something I need to be concerned about because I'm a very risk averse broker. That's always been my nature. So that was immediately when I said, okay, we need to start researching systems that are going to protect the brokerage because this is about to get big and I need to make sure as a broker that we're protected. And the thing that drew me to BrokerBot immediately was the fact that you guys had the errors and omissions coverage included. So as a broker, that put my mind at ease instantly. It being a zero data platform was another huge piece of it. So I could feel confident that when we put an AI policy into place at the market centers, that everyone's protected. The agents are protected. The brokerage is protected. Our clients' data is protected. That was a very big thing for me. And that was actually the trigger point was up until that point, I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's going to make people's lives easier, more creative, that sort of thing. But it was that moment where I realized the confidentiality was at risk that I knew we needed to make a move.
Yeah, super smart. And I think that's like what we open this guide with for. So if you're listening to this, what Sarah's talking about is when your agents upload information into the consumer models, they generally take license to repurpose that data. And like just yesterday, I was reading a thread where people's Claude chats are now being indexed by Google. So that means if your agent uploaded like your buyer's whatever, right, their contract with their like why take my offer letter that has their family photos and all that, if they're on a public model, that's being indexed, that's searchable. And in a lot of states, that is becoming like there's statute and regulation coming in that not just makes that frowned upon, but those are like lose your license, go to jail, big fines.
Absolutely.
And so you want to be thoughtful. So we published an AI policy, like do not take it, find, replace the name and use it, like get it in front of your attorney, be thoughtful about it. But I just dropped a link to that in the chat. And I think that's a huge moment. So like starting with security, cool. What are you having it do? Like what was the first thing that you're like, all right, this, if we were going to solve this problem next, what was that?
All of the got a minute questions that when I look at what I answer as the broker during a given week, what my MCA answers, what my director of first impression answers, it's the same questions on repeat. It's what happens when I sell my own property? How do I do rentals? Can I get a W-9? What's the policy for structures of different things that we do in the office? And I just looked at how many times we answer those questions on repeat. And so having the KY system, the first thing that we did was upload all of our policies and guidelines. We trained it to answer any of the got a minute questions. So now we're able to have the agents deferring to that system first. I got a great tip on another call I was on the other day with BrokerBot, that one of the other OPs now, when he's answering a question, he texts in BrokerBot and texts in the agent. So there's a
Mhm.
group chat and has BrokerBot actually answer the text for the agent.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
starting to train the agents on how to do that. And I thought that was an absolutely brilliant takeaway from that. So that was the first thing. And the amount of hours it has cut down, even just in the few months that we've been using it, has been incredibly significant.
Yeah. And so I want to play back uh what you just said. I want to add something to it, and then I want to ask you more questions. So what Sarah just said, and I want to make sure you all realize, is that BrokerBot works across now, I think, 5 or 6 channels. So you can use it on the web, you can use the hotline, which you can call or text. You can now email, but if you haven't come in here and enabled the email, it's not on. Any agent in your brokerage can email BrokerBot and it'll respond. If you have Slack, you can Slack. If you use the widget, you do that. But what I want to point out is, so you can send a group text to BrokerBot. You can also send a group email to BrokerBot. And so one of the things that I want to make sure you all realize is, so to pretend an agent sends you something and they're like, hey, can you look at this contract? Can you do this, that, or the other? I have a question about this. How do I do that? Reply, CC BrokerBot, make sure the attachment's there. Hey, BrokerBot, can you take a look at this and tell us what you think? It'll reply back. It can read the attachment that you send in email and reply back via email, and it'll reply to both of you. And that tip of like, I think what a lot of people get stuck on is they're like, I'll hear people be like, well, if my agent doesn't ask BrokerBot first, I tell them they need to go do that. And that feels a little impersonal to me. So I think it's really smart to say, like, when they come to you, you go, well, hey, let me group text BrokerBot, and you do it. So they see you doing the behavior and modeling it. And then you can come back to it that way. Eugene asked a question. So today we do not share any data across brokerages. Um, we do that, like every brokerage gets built one-to-one. That's not something that we share. We have a lot of the like underlying information is built. We have workflows that do work inside the market centers already built, but we're never going to take something that Sarah has built and share it with the next person. Unless Sarah shares it with you, then we can plug it in. Um, Sarah, do you want to take a shot at Tim's question, or do you want me to answer Tim's question of why did you pick BrokerBot versus Claude or Gemini, et cetera?
So this is where you get into the super techie part. So on the bell curve of life, I am usually the laggard. So the fact that I'm even here before some of y'all is amazing to me right now. I just did this more because of a broker mindset of I got to make the brokerage secure versus being forward with tech. So the reason actually we chose it after doing our research is because BrokerBot has the ability, it's pulling from all of those large language models. And you'll correct me if I'm doing this wrong, I'm certain. But it's pulling from all of those models, including Claude and Gemini. If it's a better model for what the agent or the leadership team's asking it to do, it will pull from that. So you guys are, I believe, are tapped into over hundreds of them, if
Yeah,
I'm
there's
correct.
582
Mhm.
under the hood. And so Tim, to give you, I'll build on Sarah's answer. We use Claude, Gemini, Anthropic, open weight models under the hood, and we dynamically pick the right model for the job. The key is every single model we use is strict zero data retention and zero model training. So anything you put into our machine will never be used to train a future iteration of the model. In Claude, Gemini, and OpenAI, you can pay for that, but you're going to pay starting at around $40 per seat. So that means if you have 300 agents, 300 times 40, it's $12,000 a month. A market center on BrokerBot is going to be something more like $1,000 a month. So A, there's like a big cost leverage that we give you. B is that even if you bought that enterprise thing, you can't call it on the phone. You can't text it. You can't email with it. Your agents are going to have to, it becomes like the one more thing problem of it's an app or it's a website they have to go to use it. And then somebody's got to maintain it. And so in our world, we do all of that for you at a fraction of the cost that you could do it for yourself. But moreover, like we actually work with you in the same way that we work with Sarah to like be your implementation team. So it does a lot more than just the got a minute questions. And I think that's a perfect like segue into yesterday. You told me that you all are using it to do transaction coordination and even do some of that within command. I'd love to hear you talk about that and share with the folks. Like, if for those of you that aren't doing that yet, I think that's like the next coolest thing I'm starting to see.
And I think it's one of those things that's going to come together very quickly. I said to someone when we saw the abilities of this, I said, if you are, and apologize for those on the call, but if you are an in-person compliance coordinator or an in-person transaction coordinator, those jobs are going to change rapidly within, I think, the next 18 to 24 months, if not sooner. So one of the things that's been really neat is there's a transaction coordination workflow that was built out for us, and the agent just uploads their offer to the system, and then it will spit back all the pertinent information as to who the people are, key dates involved. It will schedule emails for them. It will schedule calendar invites for them. It will tell them the timing of everything that needs to be done. One of the other reasons that we chose this product was because it will not send the email without the agent actually giving it permission. So one of the things that I spoke about with our agents is we are providing this for you to help you enhance your business, not replace you in the business. So use this to enhance your business, take things off your plate, leverage the things out that are taking up your time so you can spend more time focused on your clients and the things that are important in life versus worrying about, did I send that email? Did I get that calendar invite scheduled? That can all now be done, which has the agents that are using that in our offices are just blown away by it. They have had very good success.
And so I want to like just really flatten this out for people. So
Mhm.
in our product, you as an owner of the account can create workflows. Okay. And so I saw Janae say, can you share that workflow? And Sarah, if you're okay with it, we'll help
Mhm.
share that workflow. These workflows are configurable at the market center level, and they can do really an unlimited amount of work. And so if you think about the things we integrate with, which this also goes to Tim's question about like why BrokerBot versus these other things, these command integrations, Follow Up Boss, Commissions Inc., Rechat, Hotsheet, SkySlope, all this stuff, these are like enterprise level partnerships we're paying big money to have access to, and we are co-developing these things on the proper secure API channels. This isn't Claude Cowork popping open a browser and like entering things and getting it wrong some percentage of the time. These are like deterministic software code API layers written by actual software engineers that work right. and don't leak your sensitive data out into the world. So when Sarah's talking about this, what she's done is she has created workflows for her agents. And by the way, if you all haven't seen this yet, you can change it so you can have a workflow show up for everybody, just some groups of people, all the way down to an individual person. At MegaCamp, we're going to announce the ability for agents to upgrade their account, their individual account to a pro account so they can create their own workflows. The reason that requires an upgrade is a lot of these workflows require KB processing. And so as people upload things into the knowledge base, we have to pay the models to crunch all that cost. My hunch is most market centers don't want to underwrite 100% of their agents' AI usage. So we're going to have a little starter subscription so the agent can get their own and in a very affordable way, build workflows that are bespoke to them so that that gets some work off the market center. But what Sarah's done is they built one so in a click, the agent can click the button to upload a contract. We can read the contract and actually put all the details into command via that API. Spoiler alert, KW Tech has told me they're going to give us the ability to create opportunities, and they're trying to get it done by MegaCamp. So you can create the opportunity, you'll be able to create the opportunity, then we can take all the critical dates from that calendar, put them into that agent's Google Calendar. We can invite their customer, invite their escrow officer, whoever. We can forward the email to their escrow officer of choice, which if I was a broker and I was a market center owner and I had my own escrow company, guess whose escrow email would be in there in pre-written. I can forward it to their mortgage company of choice for pre-approvals, et cetera. You'll see here, like we are making it very easy for our agents to use our internal services. And it's a massive driver of attach for those things. But then BrokerBot also has its own scheduling engine. So I don't know exactly how yours works, Sarah, but you can tell BrokerBot like, hey, I want you to text me the day before all these critical dates and like remind me that they're coming up in addition to having them in my calendar. And BrokerBot is very human-like in its ability to sit like and just manage and do these things. One thing I want to do that I think will get done really quick that will be cool is these workflows today require you to log in and click it. I want to add a thing to where you can just put a command like TC this or like, KWY's TC or whatever. And then how cool would it be if like when you get the offer back and it's all signed and done, you just hit forward and you say that KWY's TC and it runs the workflow right from the email to where you don't even have to log in and click a button or do anything. Um, and so I think there's just more and more of that type of stuff that we learn from people like Sarah and all our other awesome customers, so that we can make these things better. What else? I think Eugene asked a really good question. Who's doing all the work at the office level? And I think also like, how much work is this?
I would love to take the credit for building the workflows. I've had absolutely nothing to do that with that. I have an amazing, amazing leadership team. So between my executive assistant, my MCA, and my DOFI, they have all been working together to automate as much of what we do as possible. So they took the time before we launched out to the market center to get the key documents uploaded to it. Then as they're getting to know the system more and finding out things that are important to the agents or in their own days and their own workflows, they're starting their own workflows within the system. We are in the process of automating as much of our onboarding and offboarding as we can through the system. And by doing that, we've made onboarding to KYs part of what happens when you come into the market center so that we get the new agents our input right into it the moment that they start so that it's not an option. It just becomes part of their onboarding process. So they're getting to know the system early on and it just becomes an integration of being here. So, and then this week, my DOFI moved into the Director of Agent Services
Oh,
role.
nice.
And with that, of course, there was a change to some responsibilities and duties. So he was able to take the outline of his new role, upload it in, and now it spits back to him every single day. Here's exactly what you need to do. And in the short time we've been doing this, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people that are better and more accountable at this than I have been, is, making the calls and staying connected with the agents, doing the D2 process, DT D2 process. We've noticed that we now have the bandwidth to do all those things because we've been automating so much of the administrative. So I've just been going through, Market Center Command MC and seeing how now when I log in, I'm seeing that someone's touched base with our agents usually within 3 or 4 or 5 days, where before, I'll be very frank with you, most of the time that was months because we were just busy dealing with what was in front of us. And now we're able to be more proactive with our relationships, which has been a huge change.
And I think that's the future of work, that like our work is human. If you are sitting in front of a computer entering things, like you should really just question yourself, like, should I be doing this? Looking for things, entering things, reading things. Yes, Monica, it's being recorded because it should free you up. Now, Sarah, do you mind if I like kind of live workshop with you? Because I always have these fun ideas. I'm curious if it would be helpful. Um,
Okay.
Command MC today allows us to write activities to it. So I think as your team is doing their DTD2, which I'm going to go see Mr. Voorhees downstairs again in a minute, and I would love for you all to like with pitchforks tell them that we need read-write access to Command MC. What I would love to do is see your tasks for the day, and then what we could do from there is we could go look up your agent's social media and we could tell you like, hey, what's going on in their life? And then we could give that back to you and say like, here's your two agents to reach out to. Here's a little dossier of what's happening. Your team could go do those reach outs, and then they could just come back to BrokerBot and be like, hey, update Command MC, here's what's up. And then we would push it back. If you use BrokerBot in Follow Up Boss, in Hot Sheet, etc., that's how it works. And it's really, really powerful. Um, Keller Williams is building their version of AI called KWIQ, and they've been really clear with us that they don't foresee them ever giving us like commission data and that sort of things, that they want that to live in their ecosystem. And they're going to build some agentic AI functions to help surface things inside of thanks, Bruce. Thanks everybody that is pitchforking. Um, that is going to be helpful inside of command. But I think they're not going to go build a containerized command line agent that can do long running complex tasks across many models in the way that we have. So I think these things will always coexist, and we just need to deepen the partnership, build more trust to be able to take more action on your behalf. All that's to say, uh, we integrate. So Ian and I's first project was a project called My Hot Sheet. It's live, it's on the web. It was named the #1 CRM in 2025 for new licensees. And we kind of sidelined it. Like we didn't really know what we were doing with it. We got really into this AI product. Well, what we've noticed is there's this gap for a lot of people of like, how do you onboard an agent? How do you keep track of all these things? How do you do these things? And so we've now fully integrated BrokerBot with Hotsheet so that you could in BrokerBot say, hey, I need this onboarding checklist. I need you to go put it all in Hotsheet, create a pipeline for all these, create records for all my recruits, and then like as the tasks are happening, just track them and burn down these tasks. And I think for us, until the rest of the CRMs catch up with like native functionality, that's our proving ground for like how this should work. So we don't talk about this very much, but like in theory, you could go get a Hotsheet account, connect it to BrokerBot, and do a lot of really cool stuff to manage those checklists and do those. So just ideas of ways to do it. And I think that's our pattern that we're trying to drive KW towards with Command and Command MC. Um, Sarah, talk to me about recruiting. Like, have you all gotten your heads around how you use this for recruiting yet?
We have not explored that as much as we would have liked to. That's our next phase that we'll be moving into. Our first and most important thing before we started using this outside, and that's been my philosophy since I've been in this role, is we make sure our in-house agents are taken care of first. They feel solid in it before we start using it for things that we're doing outside the market center. But what we are already looking at now that we know how to do the workflows for the director of agent services is the next step's going to be building out that workflow for our team leader to make her job easier so that she can come, like you said, if I can set up that she comes in the morning, knows exactly who she needs. I mean, and I know a lot of our platforms do this, but it's that all-encompassing that we saw with the TC workflow on the agent side. If we're able to do that for our leadership team, that's a game changer. That if it's set up to, send the emails, send the calendar invites, do all those things that we are still using manpower for, that's going to change our trajectory significantly.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I asked you about the recruiting thing. I was on with Rich Rector last week, and what we talked through with his team leaders is they're now running a GEO audit. Do you know what that is?
I should.
That's right. So it's like SEO for 2026 of like how do you get ranked in the generative search engines?
My TL is going to be so upset because she has a marketing background and she says that all the time. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's all right. You and me both. Like people say the same acronym enough, and I'm like, yeah, I've heard your acronym. I'll assume I know what it means, so it's fine. Uh, but they're doing that. So before they have a recruit come in, they're having their AI assistant run a GEO audit on the recruit, so that when they sit down with them, they can review it with the recruit and give them kind of a plan of what they need to do. And then what I thought was really smart is they tell BrokerBot, so hey, the recruit's email is X. Can you send this to them? It sends it. And they say, and then in 30 days, I want you to set a scheduled task for yourself to rerun this audit and email the results to the recruit and to myself again. So it's kind of like automating their follow-up of like, hey, I'm giving you homework to go improve your generative rankings. A month from now, you're going to get a little nudge from our AI assistant to let you know how you did. And now I think you could totally take that and do it with your internal agents. Like if it was me, just thinking like through my ALC, that's probably my next ALC exercise. And I'm going to get it to just run a monthly like presence audit for my ALC of all their online profiles, their social media, and do all that. And like, what if it just went every single month and like ran that for your ALC and you made it into like a little competition of like who can move the needle the most in a year or something. That I think that could be really cool to make it a retention tactic.
And I love that. And that's the thing about the entire system and starting this now is getting the agents involved in it and helping them grow their businesses with this. When we brought it, they were like, oh, well, this will just help the market center. And I said, no, I said, this is designed to help you make your lives easier and help level you up against your peers out in the field.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you share that message internal to your market center? Um, like, are you teaching it in team meetings? Are you having agents do breakouts? Is the leadership team doing it? Talk a little bit more about that.
The first thing, as with in any leadership, is you have to model the behavior, right? So our entire leadership team is using this on the daily within our own roles and businesses. So they see that coming from us first, that we all adopted and bought in to the system. So everyone is using it. And then from there, it's been constant communication about it. One of the things I love that we have automated is we do a top 3 prompts of the week at the end of every week, so that we can show what the top prompts were in AI that everybody was searching for. And the most common things that we are getting is questions about marketing and questions about CMAs. So that has also been leading us to be able to figure out how we're going to adapt our training in the future based upon what the agents are asking KYs to do for them. Then we bring it up at every team meeting that we have. We do weekly here. And our team meeting that we had this past week, we had one of our ALC members actually teach the meeting from her perspective of what she had been using it for and found success with. Anytime we hear a success story, we try to capture that somehow. We captured one on video from one of our agents that is not in the market center very often. And I said, how are things going? He goes, oh, I love that KY, Sarah. He goes, I call it, which I'm like, seriously, you do? Really? Okay. He goes, I call it on my way to the showings. And he goes, I have it run a quick CMA for me. So I just have a basic idea as I'm going into the showing, how the price is comparing. And again, I said, really? I said, I need to film that. So we filmed
Yeah.
it and then we put it up internally. So when we catch those moments of engagement, because I think that's the thing that has surprised me, is how wide the net has gone within the market center of the agents that are adapting and using the tool. And some of that has surprised me. And, there were the few I was like, oh, yeah, they'll definitely do this. But it's been really interesting to see how many people have gravitated towards it, and they're all using it in their own unique way. And it's bringing that stickiness back to the market center.
I love that. Bringing sticky back. Maybe that's our mega camp t-shirt. Um,
My God, no.
that's amazing. Jake asked a good question about how AMCA, MCA, I'd imagine that applies also to like PC, DFI, ATL, etc. I know you mentioned y'all are using it for compliance, and we can go there if you want. Um, do you have thoughts on like how your team is using it from a AMCA, MCA standpoint?
So I would say out of all of our positions right now, the MCA is going to be the next role that we're really looking at it. We basically did it in tiers because I didn't want to overwhelm. So it's like we run the play through one thing and see if it works before we run it through everything else,
Got
not
it.
tiers.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm sorry, I lost
I
that
sorry, I've
question.
distracted you. So say that, play that back because I got distracted when you said tears, and I was like, oh my gosh, like in tears, like it was so good you were crying. But you mean in tears. So like you're testing it internally, giving it to leadership, and then giving it to the agents. Got it. Okay. That makes a lot more sense than through tears.
Yeah, so we'll roll it out like with our director of agent services, we just did that workflow for that position. And then once, he was, and I love it because a lot of the leadership team has been exploring it on their own and then coming back at our huddles in the morning and saying, hey, I used it for this and it was amazing.
Yeah.
So when he came back and said, wow, this workflow works great for my role, then like I said, the next thing for us is to do it for the TL role and the MCA role. But I notice, we're all using AI every day anyway for asking questions. And one of the things I've noticed in the broker role is as soon as I get a question from the agent, I go check it through KWise to see if it actually knows the answer. And for anyone that's concerned about what KWise will and will not answer, you can set up defaults for it so that it will not answer legal questions or things that you would not want AI answering that you would want to answer as a human in that position. So right now we're only a couple of months in, so we are still exploring it. I think the learning curve for us was knowing that you do need to continue to feed it, you do need to continue to train it, and that's just now we're all on the same page with that. So if something comes up that's not there, we immediately send it in for training so that we can get it set up so that if another agent asks that question, it's right there for them.
Yeah, you all have been live just a little more than 2 months. And in that little more than 2 months, your agents have had over 5,000 conversations with KYs. I don't know if you knew that.
I
Uh,
didn't.
yeah, it's used integrations 494 times, meaning like 494 of those 5,000 sessions did something in command or email or somewhere. Um, they've talked on the phone with it for almost 6.5 hours, like of actual talk time, which is crazy to me that people talk to AI things. And it's done nearly 1,000 web lookups for them, meaning like web searches to go look things up and do those. So that's a lot of value. I mean, if you just think about the like hourly cost of what it would take to have a market center staff person do all this, that's the unbelievable promise of AI is that you're able to deliver a full service experience to your real estate agents using AI in a way that we couldn't do a year or two ago. Um, with with your roles, talk about compliance a little bit because I thought that was interesting as you were telling me what you were doing with compliance.
So we are starting the process of seeing if we can get the compliancing done through AI. When we were working with Maximo, which again, I will continue to give a huge shout out to him. He is one of your best. We absolutely love him. Is Right now, we have to do obviously compliance checks on all of the files, make sure that the forms are right, everything's signed correctly, all of that. And, this is something that as a broker is a huge pain point because it's a human thing that needs to be done. And so if with that, there are going to be challenges as some things could get missed, et cetera. So as a broker, I'm looking at how can I make this more efficient? And through talking to Maximo and other brokers that have already put this into place, it's an over 99% compliance rate. The big thing for us was figuring out, that's great for me as the broker. Lovely. I can get everybody to run it through KWise and I get a 99% return. That's awesome. But as an agent, and I still do practice, so I remember what it feels like. If you add one more thing to my plate as a busy agent, I'm like, pound sand today. Like I got enough to do. I don't need to make your job easier. The job is you make my job easier. So we had the discussion with our ALCs, and I'm so fortunate to have such great support from our ALCs. And I brought it to them and I said, look, guys, I said, this can do it at 90%. Where I said a human being, I still think is maybe 70 to 80 at best sometimes. So I said, if we can do this, are you willing to work with me to figure out how we can make this work for you? Because essentially what it would be is you'd have to download the documents, upload them to AI, it's going to compliance it, and then we got to get them into command. And they all said, yeah, they said, you know what, we'd be willing to test drive that with you, Sarah. And just working in as part of our workflow, because they said if we can actually get the responses back earlier on what's wrong with our documents right up front, they said that gives us more time to correct it before, you or the compliance coordinator are getting that to us later on in the transaction. So they said, if we can do it before we even upload them to command, they're like, that's kind of an added bonus. So we've been running that test right now for 2 weeks. And I just have a small pool of agents running it because I said something like this, I said, it needs to make sense from your perspective as an agent before we roll it out brokerage wide so we can see how this works. So we are in the beta testing stages of that. And that is my hope, though, is that all the compliancing runs through KWise and then we get it into command. In my fantasy life, we can just compliance it straight through command through AI. That's my fantasy world.
Yeah. Well, and I met with Lone Wolf about an hour and a half ago, and they're working on some things that do that because the reality is to get you like 97% of the way into compliance checks with I think we can do pretty readily. To get you from 97 to like 99.9 is its own company that needs tens of millions of dollars in investment. And I think Lone Wolf realizes that, and they're going to make that investment. And so where I see us working really nicely together is as Transact comes out fully, we are at the final stages of getting a Transact deal done with them. I can see a world where like your agent just emails the contract to BrokerBot because it doesn't matter where you write it, you always end up trading it and you end up with this DigiSign thing in your email when it's all done. And in my brain, they should just hit forward on an email, forward that to BrokerBot and say like, hey, start this file, right? We can read it, update their command, break it apart, upload it to Transact, and then give them like immediate feedback on, hey, these are the things we found. Once it's done with human review, you'll probably get some more. And I don't think that's like, I think that's a this year thing. I think that could happen this year. So, and I think when you do that, it's been really fun partnering with Stone Point and Keller Williams on this because Stone Point has a tremendous amount of resources. And if a non-Keller Williams broker were to try to do what I just described, right, they would be paying their CRM for API connections. They would be paying their transaction desk or Lone Wolf for API connections. And we're trying to finalize the terms around this to where if we get this right, like as a franchisee, that would be a huge benefit that the franchisor is carrying some of those costs for you. And you just need like the subscription to our service for all this stuff to work. So fingers crossed. I think the conversations are going well. I think we'll get there. And it matter of factly gives you something that your neighbors in your city don't have, right? That makes the brokerage
Yes.
more sticky. The the other thing I want to just like kind of give you kudos on is a big thing I hear from brokers is like, can I get an exclusive on this thing for my city? And what I always tell them is, I'm happy to take your money. It's going to be expensive, but I don't think you need it because the reality is like even if you look at Keller Williams is arguably the best tool set available to a real estate brokerage that operates as a franchise in the country, right? But if you look at the franchisee on this end of the spectrum to this end of the spectrum, it's not that they have different tools. They have the same tool. It's how they implement the tool. And I think that's what you've done really well is you've said, what are we going to do so that our agents in Boston, in our market, have an AI assistant that can do things that no other brokerage would train it on? And I think we have other customers in your market that aren't having the same level of like adoption and success that you're having. So there is like an execution thing that if you're a good operator, you can make things work better than others. And so that's why we do these webinars to like try and elevate everybody to make everybody as good as you are. We're at 11:49. We got 10-ish minutes left. If you're in the chat and you have questions that you want to ask Sarah, please drop them in the chat. Um, where, what are you thinking about, Sarah? Like, what's next? Like, where do you go as a next thing that you want to try to solve with AI or systems or anything in your market center?
What we've already reviewed, it's going to be the compliance piece, and then it's going to be the workflows for our entire leadership team. And continuing, one of the things, so we started running weekly challenges. So one of the things that we're building out right now is a button when they land in. So it's a workflow idea when they land on the front page. Because we've started weekly lead generation challenges that I participate in, which has been fun for all of us. So it started off that I was like, oh, I'll, give you a $50 gift card. If you do this challenge, you can enter to win whatever. But then I realized like I need to hold myself accountable to some things. So I'm always one that if I put money on the line, that will motivate me to generally do things. So I was like, oh, guys, so we'll do this challenge. I will do the challenge with you because I need to do the same thing as the owner in my business. So, and if I don't do the challenge, I'll enter you in to win a drawing for $1,000. So they were all like, oh my God, we might win 1,000. I'm like, you will never get $1,000 out of me. So don't bank on that. Because if I have to stay till midnight to finish something, I absolutely will to not give up $1,000. But so what so we were initially sending those out through Facebook Lives and through our email system. But then, this week, a member of the leadership team was like, man, can we do that through KWise that every time they log in, they can click on the challenge for the week and see what it is they need to do and how they can do it. And so it's those little things now that it's like, oh, can we use KWise to do that? Oh, maybe we can use KWise to do that. And so all this brain power, that I think of all the years that it takes to think of and coordinate and create these systems, it's now if you have the idea and it can create the framework and then you humanize it to exactly what you need it. And that, like I said, I can just tell even within my own energy field these past few weeks, like I'm calmer because
Yeah.
I'm not caught up in the minutia so much every day. And I get to spend more time connecting with our agents. And I'm like, this is the ideal world. Like right
Yeah.
here, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, and if my whole team is doing this, we're unstoppable with it. So,
Yeah.
I think the thing is it's just embracing it together and
Yeah.
and continuing to be all in as a group on it. And our excitement is transferring to the agents, and that's coming back the other way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I want to, you said something that was really, really smart that I want to make sure that everybody hears. Where people get stuck a lot with AI in general is they try to write the perfect prompt. And they sit there and they're like, do, and they're trying to tell it exactly what to do. And then they're like, ugh, it didn't do what I wanted it to do, right? The biggest difference between AI and people is like if you went to a person and you said, "Hey, I need you to do a task for me. Can you write yourself a plan to do the task?" They would look at you like you're crazy, right? Because they don't have the resources to like learn that way. But what you said is that you talk to it and you say like, "Hey, this is the thing that I'm trying to do. How do I do it?" And I'm sorry, I'm paraphrasing what you said. And then you get an output from it, and then you work with KWise to like get the output to where you want. And then you say, okay, great. Now tell me, how did you do that? And let me turn that into a workflow. And that's exactly what we teach. And that is the smartest possible way to do this. So like rather than trying to figure out the perfect way to tell it, what I want you all to hear what Sarah said is she's saying, hey, here's the goal I want to get to, like help me make the plan, help me figure out how to get here, and then you're workshopping it to get there. Did I capture that right?
yes.
Yeah. Cool. Um, Martin has a question. Martin Charles, how is using BrokerBot help from an expense management standpoint overall? Since you're using it for onboarding and other workflows, has that allowed you to reduce or eliminate any other subscriptions or manual processes?
So, as Jeremiah mentioned, we've only been live with this for 2 months, 8 weeks. So, that is something that right now we've been running everything parallel, and we're going to start looking at that in these next couple of months. I don't eliminate until I know that whatever I'm running parallel is doing what we need it to do. But that absolutely was one of the things when we went to the ALC, that there were a number of things that we said, if we can use this in order to do it, and we make the investment in this, I do believe that we'll be able to eliminate these expenses over here. And that was how we justified making the investment for the brokerage.
I love that. That makes sense. And I think, you know, for whatever reason, a lot of times what happens is I talk to the operating partner, and the operating partner is like, I want to be more efficient. I want my team to have headroom. I want to save money, whatever. And the operating partner and I very rarely, like 1 in 1,000 times, have a conversation of I want to reduce headcount or cut people. But the minute it gets to the leadership team or the staff inside of a market center, their head immediately goes to like, is this thing going to take my job? Um, how did you manage that? Did that come up on your leadership team at all? Was that ever a concern?
We operate from an abundance mindset in this market center, not a scarcity mindset. And we are in a market center relaunch period. So we already do not have enough staff for all of the functions that we need done. So anything that we can do for our leadership team to make their lives easier, I will say with the utmost certainty, that is not a concern here. And as a leader, if that's the energy in the market center, then there's a bigger leadership thing there, I think.
Yeah.
Is a leader, when we're looking at new initiatives, it's because again we are looking from a standpoint of expansion and abundance, and there's more than enough, and we know what we're growing to. So anything that we can bring in to help us do that, we are going to do, because uh, like I said, we have been challenged on a shorter staff for a little while, and anything that we've been able to do to lighten that load and create more bandwidth for the humans in this environment, it
Yeah.
is usually met and very well received.
Yeah, I love that. And Sarah, if I could clone your energy, and it sounds like if everybody on this call could clone your energy, I think everybody's market centers would be better because um, that's the right answer. It's like we just don't think that way, and that people that think that way don't fit on our team. And I think that that's why you've had the success you've had so quickly with this. I love it. All right. Any questions for Sarah, or Sarah, anything else you want to talk about?
I will just say be open, as leaders, our job is to look beyond the horizon. And this industry is changing. I said this on a live to our agents the other day. This industry is changing faster right now in real time than I can think of any other major shift. I mean, I've lived through the internet, I've lived through, the phones to cell phones. This is so fast.
Yeah.
And you just need to be open and learning. And I will close with this. I had the very fortunate experience in my life to get a second grandma later in life, who passed away at 99. And at 99 this year, she was on her iPhone texting her great grandchildren. She was on Facebook on her iPad. She was just someone that was never afraid of the technology. And when we looked back at her life from when she was born to when she passed, all of the changes she saw happen, from TV to cable to phones to internet to that. And at 99, she's on her cell phone texting the kids, and we're teaching her how to send, voice text messages. And she just thought that was the coolest thing. Like, that inspired me, and just said, yeah, Sarah, like whatever it is, you just got to embrace it and go, because the changes are coming. So that's what I
Yeah.
would leave everyone with today.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And that is, you do such a good job just leading your people and how to think about these things. Um, I want to give you a little challenge to think about with Mega Camp coming up, how will you how will you do something to create uh, buzz or stickiness or whatever around mega camp? And I don't have the answer to this. This is like I'm like actively thinking about if I was a team leader, what I would do, like, right, we would try to get as many people to go to mega camp as we could because it's getting them to the events is the stickiest thing that we can do. It renews their faith in everything that we're doing. And then the second is like I actually want the people to implement something after they go. And I had an aha the other day because we built this video parsing engine thing that I don't know how many people know or care to know how it works, but it's very special. And only we do it. It's not something you can do in any of the other models. And I was on a Zoom meeting with John and Kimber actually from Catalyst, and we talked about some things. And I was like, there's a thing that I knew there was a thing I was showing them, and we were walking through this diagram, and the note taker thing wouldn't grab it. And so I was like, I wonder. And I fed it to BrokerBot. I was like, hey, can you go through this and figure this out and write it for me? And it was just this really cool moment for me where I was like, wow, I am using our own tool to do this. And so I wonder in mega camp, because everybody does their thing, right? Where they're like taking pictures of the screen and taking videos. Like, what if when they get back, you had a workflow that's like, I want you to like help me digest mega camp and make an action plan and then hold me accountable.
You don't even need to challenge me on that. The fact that you just said that, I will absolutely do that because I am the lady who has 50,000 pictures on her phone of slides I've taken that I've
Yeah.
literally never looked at since. So I love that idea for now going to a conference and just uploading those photos and having it give you a summary. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I think
That's
that would be amazing, right? And then you can do audio files, you can do all this stuff. And so it's like I could literally give BrokerBot, like, here's my mega camp experience. Like, what's going on? I don't know. I think that's really cool. I like that one, and I would love to like do a follow up with you on how did that go and how was it received. Um, did I saw there's like six, we started with I think 68 people and there's 63 still here at the end of the hour. So Sarah,
we did okay.
we did really well. You gave these folks a lot of value. If you're still here, there you go. Thank you. Give some hearts and some love and some rocket ships and everything else. Um, Sean, you can totally connect it to a picture folder. You now have Google Drive and Dropbox Sync on the leadership side. Uh, it's awesome. Look at all these people that got value. So, mission accomplished today. We will continue to do these. Thank you very much for doing this. I will make sure that our team sends your team some shirts and some stuff. And I would love for you to make KY shirts because that'd be amazing. And everybody that showed up, thank you all very much. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And we'll keep building awesome stuff and we'll keep doing these. And I really appreciate you.
All right.
Oh,
Have a great day. Thank you so
and
much.
if you go to Mega Camp, come see us. We will be in the Creators Lodge. It's going to be Maximo, myself, and Gina. So Gina's my wife that also works in the business with us. So come see us. We'll be at the Creators Lodge hanging out.
Love it. Well,
Awesome.
thank you very much to you and your entire team. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.